Hello and welcome to the live of the New York Vendée. Today is Monday, June 10th, and we are welcoming Jérémie Beyou on board CHARAL. He will very soon be crossing the finish line. Thank you for being with us and tuning in. I am joined by Marcus Hutchinson. Hi, Marcus, how are you?
I'm great, Natasha. Great to hear you. What amazing pictures we have here to look at.
Yes, beautiful end of the day here in Les Sables d'Olonne. Marcus, for those who don't know him, he has been deeply involved in the high-end racing scene for most of his career. First as a naval architect with Rob Humphreys, later as editor of Seahorse magazine, on America's Cup campaigns as well, and now as a coach and mentor for major solo ocean sailing campaigns, including the Figaro and Vendée Globe. He has been a top IMOCA project manager for the past 10 years, most recently starting up and running Thomas Rouillon's Link Down project for the last Vendée Globe. And before that, he was behind Paul Meya's SMA project. So I'm very happy to have you by my side. Of course, experience needed to comment on this amazing arrival of this machine. He is flying there to the finish line. Tell us, how has it been this last few minutes that you've been watching?
Well, it's great. It's a fantastic evening for it. There's plenty of breeze. He's cruising along. I've just been looking at marine traffic. He's doing about 19, 20 knots. He had to do two jibes there just at the end to get in, but he's now on the ley line to the finish line. I'd say he's probably about 15 minutes from crossing the line. You can see a lot of spectator boats going out to meet him. You can see from their wakes quite how fast he's going. It's a wonderful shot, and it's great light. Just before sunset here in France, and color scheme of CHARAL certainly stands out whatever time of the day or night you're looking at it. But no, it's a wonderful shot. I'm delighted for Jérémie. He's been working hard on this project for a number of years. I mean, it's the culmination of a huge amount of work. The guy's been involved in this scene for 10, 12, 14 years, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even more, 20 years. He's had a lot of podiums. This is his fourth IMOCA 60, and it's going really well. He's come third here. Unfortunately, he had some bad luck on the way across. He broke his forestay fitting, but when he was extremely well placed. But that's part and parcel of these incredible boats that go incredibly fast. It's good to see, but he's definitely showing that he's one of the main candidates to watch for later in the year with the Vendée Globe, which starts on the 10th of November from this same stretch of water.
That's right. This is the exact same place that on November 10th, the Vendée Globe will set sail around the world nonstop, unassisted, and single-handed. So this is part of the training for that. So like Marcus said, it is 9 p.m. here in France. It's 7 o'clock UTC. So good time for everybody to be joining us here after work to watch this arrival. It's the third arrival of the New York Vendée race, which left New York City. Well, some of the boats left New York. The other half of the fleet left Newport, Rhode Island, to meet out at sea for a virtual start, which was probably one of the first times that we've seen that. And we already saw Massif arrive with Charlie Dallin, and we saw Boris Herrmann on Team Malizia arrive in second place. And now Jérémie Beyou will complete this podium of this race. The skipper of CHARAL managed to hold on to his third place after a hard fight battle with his two rivals. Behind him are Sébastien Simon on Groupe du Breuil and Thomas Rouillon on Vulnerable. This is another podium finish, like Marcus was saying, in a transatlantic race for Jérémie Beyou, after recently finishing third in the Route du Rhum in 2022 and second in the Retour à la Base, which was late last year, 2023. In 2016, he won this race, the New York Vendée, in its first edition. So this is not his first walk around this park, is it, Marcus?
No, not at all, not at all. This is the second of the two transatlantic races of this year, the race across, which left from Lorient, the Transat CIC. As I said earlier, unfortunately, he was forced to retire from that race when he was extremely well placed with gear failure. But in 2016, as you rightly pointed out on the way back, we only had 14 boats in that race. I think there's like 28 boats that started this race, and he's been in the front or close to the front the whole way through. It's been a particularly complicated race. This certainly the first few days out of New York or out of that virtual start line that you so brilliantly described earlier was extremely complicated for everybody, and only two boats got through a very particular complex wind and weather scenario, which was obviously Charlie Dalin and Boris Herrmann, and they got a breakaway on everybody, and so they finished, well, as you said, Charlie Dalin finished on Saturday night or super early on Sunday morning. Boris finished yesterday afternoon, and now we've got Jérémie making up the podium, but there's a whole flurry of boats that are going to finish over the next 12 hours. We're probably going to see 6 or 7 more boats finish. And CHARAL is the first of that group, and I think that says an awful lot really about the potential of this boat and the way he sailed this race. It was very clear from 3 days into it, after that weather phenomenon that I was explaining, that he wasn't going to be able to catch that first pair, but he controlled completely the situation with the second and third groups, and here he is dictating into Les Sables d'Olonne how to sail a more conventional race. But hats off to Charlie Dalin, who sailed brilliantly. It was his first outing since before his illness last year, and it was one of the first times we've really seen his new boat Massif out there racing. We didn't really have an awful lot of gauge as to how quick or slow or how well organized the boat was and how good he was. So but he really showed the way and sailed masterfully through that weather situation, and then kept a massive control of what was going to happen afterwards. Really the hero of these two Transats has got to be Boris Herrmann sailing Venezia, because he was second in the Transat CIC on the way across, and he finished second in the return race. So that's 2 second places, which is not bad at all for someone who hasn't had that much solo success in the IMOCA class before now. I think obviously the Vendée Globe he did pretty well, finishing 5th, I think it was, in the end. It was a bit complicated at the end, but he dominated the podium on both of these competitions, and must really be a force to be reckoned with going forwards. So it's going to be extremely exciting what happens in November and over the months of the winter, November, December, January. We're really in good shape to have a fantastic sporting spectacle to follow over the next few months.
Yeah, for sure. The Vendée Globe is going to be very exciting. We have so many IMOCAs nowadays, just state-of-the-art boats. So like you said, he arrived in New York with a vengeance, keen to get another chance for a battle after the damage to the forestay on his J2 in the Transat CIC, which forced him to turn back and return to the States on basically a delivery mode rather than a racing one. He's a fierce competitor. He had
is.
to be patient.
I'm just going to interrupt you there, Natasha,
go ahead.
To say that you can see the finish line, that navigation mark that you saw, the yellow and black finish mark called Nuuk Sud. That's one end of the finish line, and it's also the same finish line for the Vendée Globe, so it's a particularly important landmark, or sea mark as we should say, for all of these sailors. An awful lot of legends have been made around that buoy. Obviously now with the camera view, yeah, we can just see it there now from this point of view. The buoy is just, where's it gone now? It's just to his left, I think. I can't see it now, but anyway, he's furled up his J3 jib. He's only got one headsail out there in front. He's slowing the boat down so that there it is. The buoy is now there just on the left. There he is. So he's crossing the finish line about now, and there he is. The podium is now complete, but he doesn't have much room in front of him. There's Les Sables alone in the background, the entrance to the harbour. A lot of spectators out on the water. There he is, fists
Happy.
up, surprised,
Happy
happy as you can be. Yeah, managed to do it. Well done, Jeremy. Excellent job, excellent job. So he's going to start to slow the boat down now and get his shore crew on board. Otherwise, he'll be sailing up the beach before too long. But yeah, there you go. What a great stuff. These are the money shots. Photographers will be getting all of those shots ready for the press tomorrow.
Yeah, he's been fighting really hard to get a win.
There we go now. So there's his Jenica that he's going to start furling up, and so he can slow down. He's borne away, and very shortly we're going to see one of his team,
the technical crew, the rib come up,
crew come alongside
and
get
hop
on
board and help him.
Yes.
Enter to port, and of course the channel. We will await those images, which are such a mythical moment there. I'm sure that it'll be lined with people. There they come, technical team. It's actually quite a big team, you know, compared to most IMOCA teams. This is one of the biggest and most well-funded.
There we go. What they get. So amongst them will be Erwan Leclerc, who's the boat captain. He was with the first guy on with the black jacket. They'll be all in there congratulating Jeremy and giving a big hug. There we go, get the thing under control. Members of the family as well getting on board. And the sponsors, obviously.
Yeah, these are great moments to be able to just let go of your boat and have them bring it into port and just be able to savor the moment and the win of this podium finish that he has definitely been fighting hard to get. So I have the stats. So he's finished at, let's see, 21 hours, 11 minutes, 49 seconds. That's French time. So he's completed the course in 12 days, 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 49 seconds. He was 1 day, 21 hours, and 27 minutes, and 19 seconds behind first place.
Well, that all comes down to that weather barrier. That's almost 2 days. When you think about it, that's a huge lead, really, from first to third place for the first boat. So, but as I said earlier, it was a particularly unusual weather phenomenon that Charlie Dalin and Boris Hellman managed to get across, and the next bunch back, which included the boats that are coming next: Thomas Rion, Johan Richomme, Sam Goodchild, who unfortunately won't be coming back because he dropped his rig, and Seb Simon and Sam Davies. They couldn't quite make it across that weather situation and had to poke their way around to the south and lost a lot of distance. And that's when Charlie and Boris managed to just sail away and open up a big lead. And here we are. So that's probably the biggest ever winning margin for an IMOCA over third place anyway. Nearly 2 days. It's quite something, other than the Vendée Globe, of course, which is a rather peculiar race because it actually lasts 3 months. Yeah, but there we are. So just before sunset, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's enough water for Jeremy to get up the channel before low water.
Yes,
so you can be sure that in the channel on Les Sables alone, especially as Jeremy is well known to the crowds in the Vendée, there'll be plenty of people out there to celebrate him in, because yesterday afternoon with Boris's finish in the middle of the afternoon was absolutely perfect for the crowds. It was a beautiful day. It was windy. He made a spectacular finish with his boat leaping out of the water.
And for our viewers
at the end of the day, but there we are.
Yeah. For our viewers who want to see the arrivals of Boris and Massif, Charlie Dallin, those both are on the YouTube channel of the New York Vendée, so you can go back and watch those. But yeah, like you were saying, there was that top start in New York with those unpredictable conditions, the Gulf Stream currents and that low pressure that Charlie Dallin and Boris Herrmann were the only ones that managed to get through. It really came down to about 5 miles, which then turned into like 500 miles fairly quickly.
Yeah, there we are. So he'll probably have his engine on and be making his way towards the harbour now, and crew getting themselves organised inside. I saw a TV crew get on board there, so I don't know if we'll get some live pictures from on board the boat at some stage. But there in the fork right at the top of the screen is the harbour entrance to Les Sables. Tide is about half tide, so the beach is plenty visible. There'll be plenty of people watching and coming out of restaurants and bars to come and see Jérémie come up the channel tonight. Still a good bit of sunlight, that's for sure.
Yeah, and symbolically, I mean, CHARAL, his skipper had been the fastest in his group during the Vendée Liberty race, this prestigious kind of like run competition race between the Statue of Liberty and Manhattan. So true to his temperament, the CHARAL quickly got back into the swing of things and took the lead from the Southerners. What followed was the rounding of the Azores and then the climb up towards Les Sables d'Olonne. It was intense racing throughout pretty much that whole section. The group
Normally
had
for
all
a race,
conditions. They had downwind sailing, upwind sailing, heavy seas, big scare with the demasting of Sam Goodchild. A lot of intensity. It's sort of like a Figaro race, wasn't it?
It was very, very intense. And what was normally with a race from the west to the east, you expect it to be downwind most of the way, but unfortunately there is no more normal with the weather that we have in offshore racing. Everything is a bit unusual and stuff, and so the all-rounder boats and the all-round skippers and the opportunist skippers are the ones that do the best. But CHARAL's proven once again that they're extremely competitive. You have to shout out for their team, because behind Jérémie obviously is an incredible team of shore crew and management that really do an incredible job to keep that boat. And also by incidentally, they also run a second boat in this race, but sailed by Justine Metro, called Teamwork. It's the same racing stables for both teams, but not to take anything away from Jérémie and his achievement tonight and that of his team. His boat's an interesting one. It was launched last year. It's Sam Manoir design. It's his third IMOCA 60 design, or probably the second one. There are a couple of others that are built to Sam Manoir's designs in this race. One is Bureau Valley, which was the first boat that Sam Manoir designed for the last Vendée Globe. It's sailed by Louis Burton from Saint-Malo, and the other one is Sam Davies, also from Lorient. Her boat's called Initiative Curves, bright red, and she's having a hell of a race as well. I think she's 6th or 7th, or battling it out with Johan Richomme there for 7th place at the moment. They're going to finish tomorrow at some stage. But this boat is a little bit different from Samantha's boat. And Franck Camas, the legendary Franck Camas, has had an awful lot to do with a lot of the design details and design ideas on this. This boat is a slightly different shape and very different deck layout, and some of the appendage positions, especially the rudder system and things like that, are very different to the other boats.
Yeah, what
but
strikes
every
you
little
at
thing
first,
on this boat is very special.
Yeah, what strikes me at first glance is the narrowness of the hull. you know, I believe it's probably the narrowest of all the IMOCAs. The bow has been designed as a scow, a rounded shape, which also helps to conserve power. The center of gravity and weight distribution have also been optimized and moved back as far as possible with the same aim. So this is CHARAL 2. It's been retaining the racy and high performance DNA that CHARAL 1 had. Yeah, the CHARAL sailing team, they basically set out to create a seaworthy and faster, more agile IMOCA, resulting in an ambitious and bold design.
Charal 1 was one of the previous boat, just as I said earlier, is now Teamwork, sailed by Justine Metro, the Swiss lady from Geneva. Has unfortunately had a difficult time in the last Vendée Globe and had to come back after a few hours into the race with some structural problems. He restarted again, but he never really caught up again with the fleet. He finished 13th in the race, but I think it was extremely courageous of him to go back out there and to race around when normally a skipper like him would be fighting for first place. I mean, he was absolutely last when he started and managed to crawl his way all the way up to 13th place, sailing in completely different conditions to the leaders. But more to the point, you know, every time you do a race like that, you have an awful lot of time to think about what you do better next time, and the experience of doing that race and everything that you've learnt and everything that the team's learnt from watching other boats in the race has culminated in going into this boat. And this boat is very, very definitely one of the boats to watch in the Vendée Globe that's coming up at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. There were about 15 engineers that took turns designing this boat. It took over 100 of specialists that got busy building the boat, designing and machining all the parts, almost of which were prototypes. They say that they spent about 35,000 hours designing and 40,000 hours building it. So, yeah, little statistics
Almost
there.
as much as a Formula One car, yeah.
It is like
So,
formula racing, as fast as these boats go now.
but these boats are it's really impressive. Anybody who's in the Sables d'Olonne region should go down and have a look at these boats tied to the dock over the next few days before they all leave to go back to their main home bases, because you're seeing the very, very pinnacle of modern offshore racing yacht design and the most advanced composite structures that are around, other than perhaps a few rockets and maybe bits of Formula One car. It's very difficult to understate quite how much engineering goes into these things and the loads and the speeds that they go at. It's really impressive. We can just see from behind with the boat upright the profile of the two foils, both of which now are you know, they're not fully retracted, but they are the lifting surfaces on the side of these boats that give them a huge amount of extra righting moment, which allows you to apply an awful lot more power and hence go faster for a given wind speed. But having boats that are part of the time all out of the water, or 3/4 of the boat out of the water, means the balance changes, the loads and slamming loads on the hull, and every other thing changes, not only because the speed increases, but because the boat is supported differently in the water to how it would be if it was a conventional boat. And we've spent a long time, several cycles of Vendée Globe IMOCA 60 designs and build projects to work out where these boats need to be strong, and they are a lot heavier because of the extra structure that's been put into them than boats were perhaps two Vendée Globe cycles ago. And it's really quite interesting from an engineering perspective quite how these things have developed over the while. And every time a new generation of boats is designed and built and sailed and raced, the understanding
raised, yeah.
across the whole board, the bar is raised massively. The record times drop every time, but our general understanding of loads and engineering constraints in naval architecture and yacht design leap forwards, and ultimately everybody benefits from that.
Yeah, and
It's
the
interesting. I
ocean
just
race.
saw
Yeah.
the ocean race is the same exactly, except
Yeah.
that the legs are shorter, but there's more people on board, so the boats are pushed harder for longer.
Yeah, well, that's
But
what they were
it's the
able
same
to
thing.
with this ocean race. They were really able to push the machines. I mean, it is a mechanical and technical sport as much as it is a, a sportive sport. But yeah, during the ocean race, they really kind of got a lot of information, and you can see like Boris Herrmann with the experience that he had. He's been performing a lot better than he did before the ocean race. So it must say something about getting all those miles and all that experience, not only for the skippers, but also for the machines.
I'm not sure what they're waiting for exactly. They still have the mainsail up, but they're probably,
Maybe
yes, here
it's
they are,
stuck.
starting to drop the mainsail now. Get ready to go up the harbour
The
and
channel.
see the crowds.
Yeah, hopefully we can get there before the sun sets and we lose all light. But yeah, like we said before, you can go and watch some of the other arrivals for first place and second place. Boris's arrival was beautiful yesterday afternoon, in with beautiful sunshine. The weather has changed a bit now. There's been a low pressure that is moving through. Um, but yeah, like Marcus said, if you are around these areas, what is so nice about the offshore sailing communities and sport in France is that you can just walk right up to the boats and really get an up close and personal view of them. And I believe some of them are actually going to be staying around Les Sables d'Olonne to do some PR sailing and stuff. I know that Initiative Cur is, for example. So they'll be there for about a week. And I'm sure that others perhaps will as well, because it is such an important port, and the Vendée Globe will depart from there very soon. That's going to come around super fast. So
Well,
yeah,
you can see
very
the mainsail
exciting.
is coming down. They're dropping the mainsail onto the boom very slowly, and the boat is now motoring, hasn't ticked up a toe, getting ready to go up the harbour. There you see the shore crew, and there's a big microphone on board there. That's what that thing is. And so that team is going to go up alongside and escort the boat up the channel, protect it from other boats, and maybe even take it in tow if required later on.
Yeah, so like Marcus said, they are some of the boats that will arrive after Charal. We are waiting for Groupe Dubroy will be next, with Sébastien Simon. And after that, it'll be Thomas Rouillon on Vulnerable. But it'll be too late for them to come up the channel. There won't be enough water for as much draft of these IMOCAs have, and they will have to take a buoy and stay outside until tomorrow morning around 8 o'clock. We will be live with the rest of the fleet. But of course, tonight as well, at least, even if it's dark, we will be live with our two boats that are arriving tonight. Might be able to hop on board and get an interview with them while they tie up to the buoy. So stay tuned for that as well. That might be coming either in the same one, or in the in another different live. But we have, looking at the chart right now, I'm looking to see how far those boats are.
I see
They've
now,
made
Natasha, why
the
they've been
final jump.
delayed
Yeah,
going up the harbour.
tell
There's
us.
a fishing boat coming. Oh, there's a fishing boat or a ship coming down the channel,
Coming out.
and so coming out, you can just see it there in the middle of the screen, or just to the right of the mast of
Yeah.
CHARAL. And so CHARAL's had to wait until that's out of the way before they can go up. But clearly they can see it now, and it's just going to be a few minutes before they start to put the power on with the engine and get up the channel. The mainsail is nearly all the way down now, and they'll be cheering for both sides of the channel, probably in about 10 or 15 minutes. So if you're in Les Sables d'Olonne, you need to get down there and have a look.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the tracker, and it looks like Sébastien Simon has made his last jibe and is looking like he will be able to go straight into the finish line now. He's going 19 knots, and Thomas Rouillon, he'll have to do one more jibe. Looks like it. He is going 20 knots, 20.7 knots. So we'll be glued to the tracker at the same time as we're live for the arrival on the dock and the first interviews of Jérémie Beyou in third place aboard his iron or carbon horse CHARAL.
Yes, so Seb Simon is about 30 miles out. As you said, he's done his last jibe, so he's probably at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from the finish line. As they get closer to the shore, they slow down a little bit, obviously, because the wind dies down. But he's just got one thing in mind now, because CHARAL's gone and ahead of him and across the finish line. But he has to protect himself from Thomas Rouillon. Thomas Rouillon has 2 jibes left to do, which a jibe is when you change sides with the wind going over the stern. You can't sail straight downwind. You have to, a bit like upwind, you have to jibe on a course close to straight downwind, but not quite. So, so from a tactical and strategic point of view, Seb Simon now is pretty relaxed, because he just has to sail a straight line from where he is for 1.5 hours more, and he'll cross the finish line in 4th place. And Seb Simon is the local hero because he's from this part of the world. His sponsor is from the Vendée region. His boat is based in Les Sables d'Olonne, so local hero getting in and coming in 4th place, but a super close 4th place to CHARAL is going to be very, very good for him. It's a fantastic result for Seb. It's probably his best ever IMOCA result, actually. Interestingly, Seb's did the ocean race on a boat that's further back in the course, sailing with his friend also from Les Sables d'Olonne, Benjamin Dutrot. But he bought, after the last ocean race, 11th Hour Racing, the boat that won the last ocean race, and it's with that boat that he's rechristened Groupe Dubreuil that he's coming 4th here. So it's a 2nd and 4th for the boats that came 1st and I think 3rd. Where did Malizia come in the ocean race? They come 3rd. I think they came 3rd, didn't they? Anyway, 2 boats that did the ocean race are very, very competitive in the current solo Vendée Globe fleet. So well done to them.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, and like you were saying, one of the sponsors of the race is French B, which is part of the Groupe Dubreuil. So
yeah, so it's calm on board now. Initial euphoria is done. You can be sure that Jeremy's on the phone to media and stuff like that inside the boat, whilst his crew get ready to start tidying the boat. There's the ship I was talking about earlier. It looks like a small tanker, small coastal tanker that's leaving the port, which now leaves the way clear for CHARAL to make its way up the channel.
perfect. So for how long have they been battling it out, these 3 boats that are coming so close to each other, CHARAL and Vulnerable and Groupe Dubreuil? They've been
well, they've been at it for 10 days now, but since that first breakaway. But interestingly, Seb Simon was quite a long way back, and he's the one who's made the biggest gains in reality with this 3rd group, and a lot of that was due to the fact that the way ahead was blocked for the guys that were nicely in the lead. But it's been a fascinating race, and if you want to see the course that they all took on the tracker, there's a fantastic feature on the tracker on the website York-Vendée.org, where you can replay the race. Click on the weather wind button on the top left, and you'll see how the weather developed, and you'll see the winds that the fleet experienced wherever they are across the course. And interestingly, you can see the different colors of the boats. They're well labeled, and you can see how
Which one
they
have
played out
foils,
and
which
what
ones
course they
don't.
went.
The trackers have
Well,
really
not
come a long way, yeah.
yeah. But from a sporting fan's point of view, to understand who was going well, what decisions they made, and which strategic decisions to say with which boats, and great trackers that we have now. There we are, just a few minutes now before CHARAL gets into the harbour, and we have they're under power there, engine on, going forwards. Interestingly, one of the important features on these races is that the propeller seal is sealed. The propeller shaft is sealed so that the skippers can't use their engines in forward gear during light airs to move them forwards. And so one of the things they have to do when they cross the finish line is take a photograph of the seal and something a code that is given to them by the race management, so that everybody knows that the seal was broken after he crossed the finish line. Now you can see the boat moving forwards just under engine power, with the flotilla of supporter boats all around it. Even this, it's a Monday night. It's early June. It's nearly dark, and there's probably 24 boats out there on the water, following them in. It's a great spectacle.
Yeah, for sure. The French love their sailing, and there's a lot of support here for offshore professional single-handed sailing. And Vendée, the Department of Vendée, is definitely, with the Vendée Globe, is one of the most important places for offshore sailors. And like you said, there's a couple of RMOCAs that are based in Les Sables d'Olonne.
Yeah, they're totally welcomed. And it's a great spectacle for tourists that come to this part of France. It's the most visited department in France, the Vendée region, and this is just another feature of what they have. So there's TV crew or photographer on the foredeck there. Be getting ready to go up the channel where there'll be crowds, and they're going to drop the reaching headsail is coming down there. You can just see it on the bowsprit, all furled up, and there's one sailor or one of the shore crew bringing a sail bag up, and another one waiting there to catch the sail. This is where Jérémie is either on the phone or having something to eat, or just sitting down and catching his breath. He's not really involved in any of these maneuvers. That's every shore crew member likes to get on board and play their part in making all of this happen for him in the last few minutes before they go up the channel.
Yeah, it's the moment to brush your teeth and get ready for the interviews on the dock.
Put on a fresh shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Look like you haven't been out at sea for.
So here comes
days.
camera, I think, is being passed over. Yes, here's more people coming on board. There's a cameraman that's going to film the passage up the channel. The microphone's gone on board. This semi-rigid boat coming up alongside is the support boat for the team. No risk of any damage because that's a rubber boat against a carbon hull. And we can see quite a lot of people getting on board now, quite a lot of equipment, sound gear, and probably a bit of lighting and a camera. Meanwhile, that reaching sail is coming down onto the deck, being lowered slowly, and will be put in its bag and put inside the sail locker in the bow of the boat. Now, if this was the Vendée Globe finish, of course, there'd be fireworks firing off about now, but it's only the preliminaries, so we can wait for another few months before we see the fireworks as they come up the harbour.
Let us know if you have any questions on the YouTube. We will try to answer those as they come through.
Natasha, I've been in Les Sables alone where there have been some Vendée Globes and some other events have been delayed because of bad weather. As you can see, this harbour entrance is right out into the Atlantic. So you go past this lighthouse in the foreground and that's it. You're into the Atlantic. There are no islands or sandbars or anything to protect you. And it's quite often the pretty hairy part of the world to sail in. And in fact, the finish line mark that they went past, Nuuk Sud, actually marks a small plateau of rocks called the Nuuk Reef. And there's often a lot of breaking water there and breaking water over that breakwater of where the lighthouse is situated. And we've had situations where the Vendée Globe and even other events out of Les Sables have been delayed for a few days because it just clearly wasn't safe to come out of the harbour and get ready to start a race with the shore being so close to the harbour entrance. This is part of the world where the westerly wind is the prevalent wind, and we're on the downwind side of the North Atlantic. So when it blows hard from in the North Atlantic, you feel the full brunt of it here in Les Sables d'Olonne. But tonight is a pretty calm night. I think it's about 15 knots of wind, and it's from the north. So it's a pretty benign situation. Although you can see the boat is jumping around a little bit there, but it's soon going to calm down and get within the confines of the harbour.
Yeah, here's our team on board, and we're going to hear some words from Jérémie. They're going to be in French, but we're going to listen in, and I will translate right after.
Il y en a deux qui sont partis, et puis derrière, tout le reste, on s'est fait piéger. Et derrière, c'est une autre course, en fait. Donc voilà, moi je vois la troisième place, mais surtout la victoire en fait de tout l'autre groupe en fait. Il y a eu une bagarre folle avec Sam Goodchild, avec Thomas et Briand et Seb Simon. Et voilà, je me suis dit bon voilà, tu vas pas gagner la course, mais au moins tu gagnes cette course là et tu lâches rien. Honnêtement j'ai tout mis quoi, je voulais pas laisser passer jusqu'à la dernière journée là où c'était tordu tout du long. Voilà, mais je suis content de moi.
Oui, non, t'as bien fait. Eh ben, c'est vrai que tu sais pas quoi dire. T'as pas une question, moi?
À l'arrivée, au départ, tu me disais que tu voulais prendre confiance, reprendre confiance et faire une belle place.
Ouais, bah c'est sûr que au final, c'était pas trop autant la course pour ça, parce que les phénomènes étaient tellement aléatoires, il n'y avait rien d'acquis quoi. Et donc là-dedans, essayer de retrouver de la confiance, essayer de reprendre des automatismes sur le bateau et tout, c'est quasiment impossible en fait. Du coup, on était en permanence en train de réagir aux phénomènes, de réagir aux circonstances de course. Et c'est pas passé vite parce que c'était dur, mais voilà, t'as pas forcément pu retrouver de routine. Par contre, ce que j'ai retrouvé, c'est la confiance en moi en fait. Je doute en permanence et je me demandais si j'étais capable de sortir encore de mes trips comme ça sur un truc Figaro de 10 jours. Et voilà, c'est le cas, donc ça c'est cool. Après le bateau s'est bien comporté en perfo. C'est perfectible comme toujours, mais on tient bon.
Well, Natasha, I don't know if
so
you can
that's
hear me.
it. Yep, I think that's it for the questions. We won't get any words from him in English, unfortunately, but we will from some of the other international skippers and some of the other arrivals that are coming up tomorrow. He basically said it was very hard, but it was a very nice battle. He gained a lot of confidence in himself during this race. He felt it was like 10 days of Figaro racing, is what he said. The boat performed really well. What did you get out of it, Marcus?
Yes, well, I think he alluded to what we were talking about earlier, where there was a gate and two boats got through it, and the weather shut the gate behind them, and the rest of them were basically trapped in a area of no wind for a few days, and a secondary race started with that group of people, and he said, look, I can't win the race because the leaders are gone, but I can win this race, which is the group that are around me. And he said he had an extremely intense race for 10 days with Tom Orion, Sam Goodchild, big shout out to him, and more lately Seb Simon, and that he wondered whether he still had it in him. Remember, he talked about the Figaro race, which is a one design race in smaller boats where all of these sailors learn their trade, basically, where they begin to understand what offshore racing is about and what it takes to be a real champion. And quite often they compare these races to the Figaro because the Figaro has an incredibly competitive environment for sailors, because basically it's all about the sailors, not about the boat, because all the boats are identical, which is not the case here. And I'm very warmed to hear that he had an incredible battle with Sam Goodchild, which unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, Sam Goodchild lost his mast a couple of days ago. That's and right. Is unable to finish the race. But Sam was effectively in his first cycle of IMOCA sailing, and Jeremy's in his fourth cycle. Fourth generation IMOCA sailor, and although they've both done the Figaro to a very high level, Jeremy's won it 3 times. Sam almost won it a few years ago, but has been very, very competitive for a long time. And they treated this race, certainly the last 10 days of this race, like a 10-day Figaro leg, which is basically intense, like you won't believe. So here we are. Going up the channel.
Let me interrupt you there for a second, because
yeah.
we actually had somebody on YouTube saying that they wanted to see this moment. So there it is. I will read to you what they said on YouTube. It was André de Brun. He said, I want to see a nice show with flares because the timing is perfect with this light. Sun just went down, still dusk. Bring it on. So there it is. Jérémie Beyou is bringing it on in Les Sables d'Olonne with, in the channel with the flares. Of course, this makes for spectacular photographs that they tend to use for, the Vendée Globe, of course.
Well, a few people made it out this evening to see third place. So there's Jérémie. Surprised he's not wearing gloves. They're pretty dangerous, those things. He's going to drop it in a bucket of water now and maybe pick up another one.
Come on, Marcus. Don't be a policeman.
Wasn't it? Well, no need for him to hurt himself at this stage.
Yeah, of course.
So this is the most famous stadium in sailing. This is the 1 kilometer long channel that leads from the sea all the way up into the town of Les Sables d'Olonne. Past the old town. On the right hand side is Les Sables d'Olonne. On the left hand side is another town called La Chaume, and the river divides the two. And there's crowds on both sides of the river, and he's waving to the few that are out there tonight. I don't want to sound like a spoil sport, but obviously once you've finished the transatlantic race, isn't quite the same as when you finish the Vendée Globe, but it's nevertheless always encouraging to see this as another fishing boat coming down the channel in the other direction. Always good to see people that come out to cheer with these incredible athletes and their incredible exploits. I don't know how many people we've got watching this or watching the tracker, but there's a huge following for this, and we don't often get to see them as relaxed as they are now. And there'll be a press conference when Jérémie gets ashore, and there'll be some good laughs that'll come out of that as he can finally relax and be back amongst his family and friends, reflecting on this incredible race that he's just sailed. There are more people getting on, I think, there. Maybe some fresh flares. Yeah, so the battle goes on out at sea still for Seb Simon and Thomas Rion. I think it's pretty straightforward now, and other than gear failure for Seb Simon, he should get fourth place. I don't want to be the curse of the commentator, but he's only got 20 miles to sail in a straight line, and I'm pretty confident he'll be the next boat to finish.
Yeah, and like I was saying, it is the same organizers for this race. The New York Vendée and the Vendée Globe is organized by the same people.
So this is effectively a prologue for that race, and a little dry run for a lot of the systems, be it TV, be it various other things. I'm just looking at the tracker here as I speak to you, Natasha, and Thomas Rion has jibed as well now. He's on his second last leg. He's going to have one more jibe in about half an hour, I'd say. But meantime, Seb Simon is going to sail across in front of him. Seb Simon is currently doing 22 knots, which is plenty fast in these conditions, and Thomas just speeding up after his maneuver. He's doing 17 knots, and Seb is just 17 nautical miles from the finish, so probably 3/4 of an hour, and he'll be at the finish line. And I'd say that Thomas is probably going to be maybe half an hour after that. So very close when you think about it. These three boats are finishing the race a bit like a normal race that we'd expect. Everybody so close together. This was a second race that Jeremy was alluding to. The race that they could only sail because the two leaders had made a jump on them, and there was no way they were going to be able to catch them back. Not sure if you're still there, Natasha.
Yep, I'm still here. Just charging, putting to charge my mic that went out. Thank you for covering for me there while I fix my technical problems. But yeah, these moments are super special, and very soon he'll be coming on the dock and seeing his family. Those moments are really nice too. But yeah, just going through the channel and waving to all the fans, and sometimes you can see people hanging out in their balcony, and they'll be banging pots and pans, and yeah, they definitely like their sailing here in France, and they always come out to greet their skippers.
Yeah, there's about 25 boats there in the little convoy.
What is he doing there to his boat?
So this is the last corner in the channel before he hits the dock. There's a few people on that's La Chaume side. Come out to wave.
Do you know him personally? Have you ever worked with him, or what is he like?
No, I've never worked with him. Yes,
like
I know him
very
pretty well.
accessible. I don't really know him that well, Jeremy. Yeah, he's kind of
Whoa.
reserved. You know, out of all the skippers, I think he's one of the most quiet and reserved, and kind of like,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. No, I've
know
known him since 1990s when he was a young Figaro sailor. We were contemporaries in the Figaro class in the late 90s. You know, our paths obviously cross a lot because we're in the same field. Obviously, he sails, and I'm involved in the management of these boats, and so see a lot. There's a lot of administration and I don't want to say politics, but there's a lot of you know, sports management that goes on, and we see a lot of each other at different meetings and things like that. But I wouldn't call him a close friend, but you know, we'd stop and have a chat from time to time about different things that concern us both. And yeah, he's probably one of the more senior IMOCA skippers now. This will be his fourth Vendée Globe, which that is coming up this year, which is quite a lot in the big scheme of things. You know, there's not that many that have done that many.
And
Repeat
his team
offender, as it
manager,
were.
he's Canadian, is that right? Jean-Sébastien
Yes.
Chernier.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I don't know him at all. I think I've met him once. No, I mean, Jeremy
He's
hasn't
new on
had
the
the same
job.
team all of the
He
time.
came onto
He's
the
new on the
team
job.
recently.
Yeah. But he's more of a he's come from different parts of sports, and that's really interesting. I think it's important also to understand that as these boats become more complicated, more technical, and the teams get bigger, and the sporting competitions become more numerous, there's an awful lot more management that goes into it. It's not just about having a sailboat. It's obviously the relationships with the sponsor, the managing the budgets that go with it, managing the hospitality and return on investment that goes on everywhere. And interestingly, Jeremy's new team manager is more from a sports marketing background than a technical background, and they're doing what they need to do and keeping control of things. But it's always up to the skipper to perform on the water. But the team just puts the platform in place, and it's none of this hope for the best. It's more remove excuses not to perform well, and ultimately it's a team effort, the whole thing. Here you can see the main pontoon there on the right where he's going to go, and the other boats.
The
Two
images
other
are
boats ahead of him,
beautiful. The
obviously.
helicopter images
They're
with
great.
the sunset are really spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the
And
port of Les
Vincent
Sables d'Olonne.
Beyou is his brother, the general director of the Vincent Beyou.
No, it's his cousin. I think it's his cousin.
Husband, okay. And his boat
So this
captain
is
Owen Leclerc.
That's Nicolas Andrieux, the guy just coming towards us there. We've lost him. He's the technical director for the team. He's an engineer, some repute, and his father before him was also is still a very renowned yacht designer, Daniel Andrieux.
Okay. I see there in the background, dressed in black, I see his rigger, Valentin Lefloc.
So there's a bit of headphones on, so he's probably communicating with his shore team about the maneuver. It's with all of this noise, it's sometimes very difficult to hear what's going on. Yeah.
Difficult to park these machines with their foils.
I think it'll be relatively straightforward tonight. There's daylight, there's not much wind, there's plenty of support ashore. There we are. You can just see in the foreground there the yellow and blue boat. That's another IMOCA 60 that is based in Les Sables d'Olonne. He didn't beat Jérémie in this race. You're probably wondering why it's already at Havre. It didn't do this race. It did the race across and then delivered back. So they've been back home here for a while. It's L'Ami Caline belonging to young Kelly.
Yeah, so that makes how many IMOCAs based in Les Sables d'Olonne? What is it, 3, 4?
There's a good half dozen. No, it's more than that. It's probably half a dozen if I think about it. Yeah. Petit Pouce,
Guyot, environment,
Guyot,
L'Ami
Caline. We have the Hungarian boat, Sebastian Simon. That's 5. Who have I missed? Yeah, 6 boats, I think. Yeah. So there on the left, so straight in front of him, that's the boat that came second. That's Malizia. I would imagine just in front of them, though I can't see it, would be Bassif. And
or maybe they've already left to.
No, I can see 2 masts there. They're still there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they'll have a podium picture there. You can just see now L'Ami Caline, the yellow and blue boat. That's Callie's boat.
And we'll see if Charlie Dallin or Boris Herman are here to meet them, to meet Jérémie Beyou, because that's sort of the tradition, isn't it?
They will
Tell
be.
us about this.
I'm sure they will be, yeah. I'm sure they'll be there. I'm sure they'll be there. There'll be a podium photograph of the three of them together. Interestingly, just before we lost that last picture was La Micaline, the blue and yellow boat, and there was a white boat just in front of that, and that was Écurie d'Aquitaine. That's the boat that won the first ever Vendée Globe by Titouan Lamazou in 1991.
A dinosaur of a boat compared to these new ones now.
Well, indeed. I don't know whether we call it a dinosaur as opposed to a legendary boat. So when they set off to do that race, 1990 it finished. 1989 was the start, and 1990 was the finish. Took 109 days, the first Vendée Globe.
Oh my goodness.
And nobody was sure if anybody could sail for that long, non-stop, alone before. And obviously, technology-wise, we didn't have the communication systems we had today. We didn't even have the navigation systems we have today. We didn't have GPS. We didn't have satellite telephones. They were very much on their own. It was a very different kind of proposition to do the Vendée Globe. That's Nicolas Andrieux there in the picture with the red. There's a little bit of a crowd here on the dock. Some spotlights.
Yeah, I see some Malizia jackets already there.
I bet you do, yeah. I bet you do.
I don't know how it is in Formula One, but what I like about the offshore sailing is that the teams, they really, help each other during the, onshore. They really, if they need a part because they don't have it, they can go to the next door neighbor and ask for it, and replace it with one that they buy later, right before they leave for a race. I mean, all of that sort of like camaraderie is really nice. Here we go. They're approaching the dock, making sure that they're foil with those big parabatage that they have now, those big
fenders.
Fenders, thank you. I was looking for the word. Yeah. I've forgotten so much of my vocabulary now with the French has taken over.
So here he comes. He's probably still on a call with some journalist somewhere.
Yeah, so as you can see that there's been an extension to the dock here. So this is the arrival dock where they arrive, and the reporters can get close to them and take pictures and ask their questions. And then later on, like we've seen with Massif and Malizia, they move them a bit further down, but this is sort of like the arrival dock. Yeah, and I wonder what he's listening to or concentrated with talking to. But here we go, champagne time. Champagne shower is coming. Flares, champagne, what else? What else do you guys want to see? Just order it right here on the YouTube chat. We'll try and deliver it. That must be somebody from the Vendée department handing him the champagne bottle. Let's see how their personality really shows through with the champagne shower, doesn't it? Each skipper, you can really kind of like see their personality with these moments. Congratulations to Jérémie Beyou aboard CHARAL, third place in this New York Vendée.
Non.
Giving a little bit to his boat, of course, as well. who brought him to safe port and in third place.
There you have it. There's the shot that shows you the three boats, first, second, and third. So Massif on the right, Militia in the middle, and CHARAL that's just arrived, the dark boat at the end.
There we have our
So
podium.
there you have the podium. Exactly. Good stuff, Natasha. Well done.
It definitely looks quite different than it does during the Vendée Globe, no? I mean, the village that they set up, we just see a few tents there. But, okay, we're going to go with another interview with Jérémie. So we'll let you listen to that in French so you can practice your French. Ah,
There's
there's
Charlie.
Charlie Dallin, yep, shaking his hand, welcoming his competitor.
C'était serré, hein, c'est pas passé loin, mais.
Ah ouais.
Maybe we can hear a little bit of what they're saying. We'll try and translate for you.
Quand j'ai vu que ouais, le front a commencé à. Enfin, le talouet a commencé à accélérer et que vous, ça allait pas du tout le faire pour vous, là. Que c'était
Derrière,
bon.
on a ramassé, mais
Ah bah
ça a été
ouais,
comme
j'ai
ça
l'impression.
pour tout, quoi.
Ouais.
Tu choisissais pas ce que tu faisais. Enfin,
Ouais, c'est un peu la torsion.
ouais. Bon, après, ce qui était bien, c'est qu'on s'est tiré à la bourre, quoi. Donc,
Ouais, bah ouais. T'as sûrement appris pas mal de trucs, quoi.
parce que toi, si t'avais des bons chiffres, ça va, mais pas les bateaux à côté. Ouais.
Non, je faisais la course au début contre le talouet, puis après
Ouais,
contre les routages, quoi. Donc c'est un peu différent.
Ah, bah, bravo.
Bon, bah, merci. Bah, bravo pour la troisième place. Vous avez sacrément bataillé quand même.
Ouais. C'était avec Sam, et puis Thomas et Seb.
Ouais.
Seb qui était vraiment consistant. Là. Ouais, c'était sympa.
Ouais, ça t'es pas trop au cul là, quand même, parce que vous allez enchaîner à fond, quoi.
Ouais, puis tu sais, à chaque fois on butait de.
Ouais, dans des trucs.
T'es devant, tu te dis putain là j'ai fait un petit écart et ça remet derrière.
Et le centre de l'ADEP, ça va? C'était pas trop galère?
Non, ça allait.
Ça allait.
Ouais, ça allait. Aux Açores là?
Ouais, allez, ça
non,
sort là.
clairement pas. Avant la DEP, le bâbord, ça secouait un peu, là où il a dématé
Oui.
Sam.
There's Boris.
Tu sais, c'était un reaching.
Ouais, un peu engagé.
Tabac 3, c'était 3 nœuds. Eh Boris, bravo. Alors,
Joli podium.
hein?
Bah ouais,
Ouais, écoute, on s'est pas beaucoup vu, mais on se retrouve sur le podium, quoi. Ouais.
c'est ça.
Trois rods très différents.
Hein? Toi, t'as fait du portant.
Ah ouais. Ouais. Mais c'est plutôt option près quand même.
Et moi, j'ai fait les deux.
Un peu de reaching. Plutôt reaching.
Ah ouais. Bon, bravo.
Bah ouais, beau podium.
Une belle arrivée avec le coucher de soleil.
Ouais, ça doit être sympa.
Voilà, ça, je sais faire, moi. Au départ, un peu moins, mais. Et l'arrivée, c'est bien. Ouais. Ouais, c'est gentil, attends.
Bah non, c'est normal.
C'était beaucoup plus long qu'on pensait. Hein. S'il y avait suffisamment de.
T'avais
pas
combien
comme ça,
à manger? T'avais combien de jours?
Ouais, j'ai pas beaucoup mangé au début. Donc,
Non, ah oui.
Ouais, j'avais pris 8 jours, 9 jours.
8 jours, 9 jours. Ah ouais, t'étais optimiste quoi.
Ouais, mais en général, je mange pas trop.
Moi aussi, je pensais.
T'avais combien?
Ça peut pas aller prendre plus de temps que l'aller. Donc.
Moi, j'ai rajouté un jour la veille du départ. J'étais à 11 jours, donc pile, j'ai ouvert le dernier sachet le matin de l'arrivée. Parfait.
Et le bateau en bon état?
Ouais, ça va. J'ai pas truc, mais on a bien tapé dedans.
Bah
Je
ouais.
disais, quand Sam il a dématé, ça.
Ah, tu étais juste à côté.
Je suis passé dessous et puis après, une demi-heure après, il dématait.
Et vous l'avez tout de suite eu à la. T'étais en AIS? Tu l'avais à l'AIS?
Ouais, d'un coup, je l'ai vu à 3 nœuds. Et puis,
Ah, tu t'avais encore son signal
ouais,
même après
encore.
le matin?
Ouais, je crois. Et
Vous l'avez appelé direct et voir si ça allait.
Après, on peut parler.
Oui.
Et la mer était dans l'axe du vent. Ça s'appelle comme ça? J3.
J2 puis J3 quoi. Ouais. Et Sam il avait 3 étés. Il m'a dit qu'il avait 3 étés.
Ah ouais.
T'as mis max, c'est facile. Tu peux mettre des câbles tant que tu veux.
Après, le problème de rajouter les têtes de vent, là, c'est que en fait, tu peux augmenter vachement plus la tension de basse taille que tu mets. Donc, est-ce que c'est si bien que ça les rajoute C'est un peu ça le problème. Yes, ok.
En tout cas, c'est pas cool pour lui.
Bah non,
Profite de ton arrivée.
Ouais,
on a
merci,
profité,
ouais, merci beaucoup.
Carrément.
Merci les garçons. Ouais, ouais.
Petite photo.
It's a very cute moment. Here we go with the photograph of the podium finish with Charlie Gallen, Boris Harriman, and Jérémie Beyou. Bravo to all three of them. So basically, it's cute to see them when they talk. That went on for a while. We're gonna listen to this interview and then we're gonna
Ouais, puis
tell you a little
puis
bit,
les assorts même
translate
depuis
for
le
you
départ
as
en fait,
best
parce
as
que
we can.
chaque phénomène météo qu'on a rencontré ou vers lesquels on allait en fait faisait qu'on butait dedans et ça revenait derrière. Donc à chaque fois que tu avais pris un mille ou une heure d'avance, derrière ça revenait. Et donc ça c'est pas facile à gérer parce que tu donnes tout, tu penses avoir fait un écart un peu décisif et puis au final ça revient derrière. Donc psychologiquement ça fait des courses qui sont vraiment dures. D'autant plus que dès le début on sait qu'il y en a deux qui sont partis et qu'on ne verra pas, donc pour la gagne c'est cuit. Donc ouais, mentalement c'est une course pas évidente et quand on a compris assez rapidement que c'était pour la 3e place, ben, je me suis dit qu'il y avait une autre course en fait, qu'il y avait une course à gagner et que j'allais tout faire pour rester devant et même si ça revenait derrière, finir devant quoi. Donc j'ai vraiment tout mis en ambiance Figaro et ça faisait longtemps que j'avais pas mis comme ça. Ouais.
Justement, j'imagine que la joie elle est à hauteur de cette intensité quand même.
Ouais, j'étais content. Tout à l'heure là, quand j'ai vu les tours des sables là, je suis content. Là. Ouais, j'ai bien tapé dedans quoi. Et ça faisait longtemps que j'avais pas tapé comme ça. Parce que j'avais besoin de ce podium en fait. J'avais besoin de gagner un truc en fait. Et pour moi c'est une victoire. Il y a eu une autre course en fait. Il y a eu 2 courses. La première on l'a perdue. Et pour les raisons qu'on débriefera météo quoi. Mais la deuxième je voulais vraiment la gagner quoi. Et pourtant les gars, je pense qu'ils ont tout mis aussi, ils ont bien navigué. Seb Simon il a super bien navigué. Thomas, Sam Goodchild, qui navigue tout le temps propre jusqu'à ce qu'il démette. Mais voilà, je voulais pas les laisser passer.
Mais en termes de confrontation d'informations sur le Vendée, un speed test comme ça de 5-6 jours, c'est quand même idéal.
Ouais, bah c'est sûr que ce que je disais à Charlie, c'est qu'ils étaient un peu esselés les 2 premiers, autant ils font premier, deuxième, et autant c'est sûr que nous on a vu plein de trucs et qu'on s'est confrontés les uns les autres et c'est pas pareil quoi. On a vu un paquet de trucs. Enfin voilà, on a fait tous les allures, on a fait du pré, du portant, du reaching, de la pétole, du vent fort, on a vraiment tout eu. Et donc voilà, le bateau est consistant, il n'a pas de trou. Il est dur, mais je pense que la vitesse a un prix. Et moi, j'arrive encore à savoir faire, donc ouais, j'avais vraiment besoin de ça. Ça m'a pas fait du bien l'abandon sur la CIC. Et j'ai besoin d'un signe quoi. Mais je suis allé chercher tout seul. Ouais.
Avec les dents.
Ouais, avec les dents, avec tout ce que j'avais. C'est vraiment. Mais ça a été dur. Ouais, c'était dur. Ouais.
En termes de job list, du coup, tu as beaucoup de choses à améliorer. Tu t'es noté plein de choses.
Ouais, il y a plein de choses. Il y a tout le temps plein de choses. Même quand il n'y a pas de casse, il y a tout le temps plein d'améliorations. Ça, c'est c'est un trait de caractère, ça. Mais voilà, dans l'ensemble, le bateau, il est là. Il est sur le podium ou devant la course, la deuxième course, je dirais. Et c'est important d'être à l'arrivée, c'est important d'être sur les podiums. Ça donne de la confiance dans le bateau et ça donne de la bonne dynamique pour la suite. Donc c'est ballot de dire ça, hein, mais ça fait on dirait un mec dans notre sport, mais c'est vrai. Enfin, j'avais besoin de récupérer cette dynamique-là, donc c'est le bon moment. Ouais.
Ça a été douloureux là, les derniers mois avant, quand tu as accumulé les pépins techniques de fiabilisation?
Ouais, bon, on a eu quelques petits pépins sur Charal 2, mais jamais jusqu'à abandonner des courses en fait, quoi. Et là, tout d'un coup, en fait, après 2 ans, on se retrouve à abandonner une course sur une pièce, peu importe laquelle, et du coup, ben, bon, voilà, forcément, tu remets en question plein de choses, et puis c'est important parce que ça ne va pas arriver. Mais en même temps, toute cette remise en question technique, elle est importante, elle est intéressante, mais sportivement, toi, ça te fait pas du bien, quoi, tu vois, parce que tu as un peu quand même l'impression de redémarrer de zéro, quoi. Donc ça, c'était il y a 3 semaines ou 4 semaines, et après cet abandon-là, il faut tout de suite récupérer la confiance perso, quoi. Et donc ça a été un moment qui n'a pas été évident, mais peut-être aussi qu'au final, ça va être un moment charnière en vue du Vendée, et s'il fallait passer par là, c'était peut-être le moins pire des moments, effectivement. Ouais.
Bon, alors le match derrière, il y aurait peut-être que 20 minutes sur la ligne entre les deux qui te suivent là?
Ouais, il y aurait pu avoir 20 minutes avec moi aussi, hein, honnêtement. En plus, encore une fois, c'est tellement. Il n'y a pas de fichier météo qui tienne la route, donc tu le fais beaucoup au feeling. Et à chaque fois que tu es devant, là, même moi, à un moment, je me dis, ils vont me revenir dessus. Ils étaient à 25 nœuds derrière avec du refus, moi j'avais de l'ado. Bah ouais, ils ne veulent pas lâcher les deux. Donc, et c'est ambiance Figaro. Je suis content moi aussi qu'on ait retrouvé du grand Seb Simon. Voilà, il a eu quelques déboires aussi, mais là c'était un beau duel de vainqueurs de Figaro avec lui, et je suis content de le revoir à ce niveau-là, ça va lui faire du bien aussi.
Ah, il sera là dans quelques heures.
Ouais, pas longtemps. Ouais. Faut que je tienne debout encore, voilà. Parce que je suis pas loin de. Je suis cuit. Ouais, je suis cuit.
T'as pas dormi depuis quand?
Je sais pas pas aujourd'hui, pas la nuit dernière, peut-être un peu avant-hier, je sais plus. Ouais, je sais plus trop.
J'ai vraiment l'impression que plus les courses passent, plus c'est dur, plus il y a de l'intensité et plus il faut donner loin, quoi.
Ça dépend. Pour Charlie et Boris, c'était facile, quoi, tu vois. Donc voilà. Donc, mais par contre, quand t'es dans le pack, ben ouais, là c'est sûr qu'il y a du niveau, quoi. Mais on en a parlé avant le départ. Dans le pack 10, là, tout le monde navigue bien et tout le monde tire sur les bateaux, et tout le monde est à la limite de la rupture mécanique, comme c'est arrivé chez Sam Goodchild, ou physique, quoi. Je pense que c'est pour ça là aujourd'hui que la série elle est ultra intéressante, parce qu'il y a du monde, il y a du niveau technique et humain, mais à un moment pour gagner il faut donner quelque chose, quoi. Donc, ouais, c'est pas gratuit. Ouais.
C'est possible sur 3 mois ça?
Non, là comme ça, non, c'est pas possible. Mais épisodiquement, t'es obligé, ouais, des fois, quand il faut attraper un système météo, quand il faut sortir d'un paquet, ou voilà, ou juste pour prouver que t'es capable de le faire aussi, quoi, et pour marquer. Moi, je te dis, j'avais besoin de me reprouver, de montrer aux autres que j'étais là aussi, et voilà, tu sens, on est tous un peu comme ça, hein, donc.
T'es pas le premier à le dire, ouais.
Je poserai la question à Thomas en arrivant. Mais voilà, en tout cas, je voulais vraiment pas la laisser, celle-là.
Il y a un kiff d'être toujours là. Enfin, tu parles de tout ça, mais t'es toujours là.
Bah ouais, je suis toujours là, mais je me remets. À chaque fois, je me demande ce que je viens faire là. À chaque fois. Hein. Et je pense que c'est peut-être ça aussi, et ça, c'est peut-être vertueux au final, de se poser la question qu'est-ce que tu viens faire là, et pourquoi, qu'est-ce que tu viens chercher, qu'est-ce que tu es prêt à mettre. Voilà, tu te poses ces questions-là, et si tu es clair avec le principe qu'il va falloir mettre beaucoup pour y arriver, bah tu restes, tu continues, et pour le coup c'est kiffant. Hein.
C'est qu'on te libère.
Ah d'accord.
Okay, so basically, yeah, he is very, very happy to have won this race. You can see it if you know him. You can see that, yeah, he's definitely very happy to have won this race. He said everyone sailed very well, that it was really his objective after abandoning the Transat Seisei, the transatlantic that went there. He really pushed hard this time, but it's always hard to find that balance between you know, keeping the boat in one piece and also preserving the human. Um, and they kind of spoke about that a little bit when all three were there. It was interesting to hear that conversation between Boris, Charlie, and Jeremy, um, and saying how much upwind they had to do versus how much downwind Boris had to do. But yeah, Marcus, are you still there with me?
I am. I am.
So
Yeah.
what
Yeah, I
is
could
your
agree with all that. What was for me, I think the big takeout for me of that was that he knew pretty soon that the first two were gone. There wasn't an awful lot he could do about it, and so he really wanted to win the race that you described there, the second race, and he thinks in hindsight, certainly talking to Boris and to Charlie, that they probably had a tougher race, or much tougher race than Charlie and Boris, who were just off on their own and just sailed towards the finish line. Jeremy fought really, really hard and had a real battle with the other four boats. Only three of them, two of them now, but he's very pleased with himself because he found that he still has what it takes to beat them. He wasn't sure. Psychologically, it's really difficult. We're playing at the absolute highest level here imaginable, with the best teams, the best prepared teams, the best sailors. Before the start of the race, 10 boats could have won this race, and he knew he couldn't win after those two had slipped through that weather phenomenon. But he was going to make damn sure that he won the secondary race, which he managed to do. But he mentioned a few times there, am I not too old for this? And being at this for such a long time, am I able to push this hard still? And what am I doing here? And realizes that sometimes you have to ask yourself, what am I doing here? But every time you go out, you have to ask, what's this all about? Why am I here? And you need to do that to refocus yourself and to keep going. But his breakdown in the Transat CIC on the way over was something that was obviously very difficult for him to swallow as a sportsman, to be in the thick of it and then to come back to France, fix it, and then with his shore crew they sailed the boat across to America and got it ready for the race back. But it's really tough to get back in it, but it's super important to get back into it. But psychologically, from a sportsman's point of view, you really got to work out what you're doing there and to push hard, and he managed to do that, and he's pretty pleased with himself. But he's absolutely exhausted. He left nothing on the field, left everything on the field, as they say in sport. And he doesn't remember the last time he slept, because it was a couple of days ago, a bit like for the Figaro, where they go for long periods of time without sleep, because it's all about pushing. And knowing that the boat beside them is pushing as hard as they are, and it's really about who wants to win this the most. And so we had real competition. All
Here
right,
they are
Natasha,
on
I
the
think we're
stage
going
with
now
Maxime. Yeah,
to
exactly.
the same sort of thing.
Merci aux courageux. Merci beaucoup d'être là.
Bravo à toi, mais le courageux, c'est toi. Tu le disais, j'ai douté, et je retrouve cette force finalement, cette force intérieure pour aller chercher la première place de ce groupe. Et donc la troisième place, au final, ce podium, jusqu'à quel point elle te fait du bien, cette victoire, déjà pour toi, par rapport à ce qui s'était passé sur la Transat et cet abandon, cette Transat allée, et surtout en vue de la petite échéance de la fin de l'année, le Vendée Globe.
Voilà, ça fait énormément de bien. Je crois que ça fait jamais plaisir de ne pas faire les courses ou d'abandonner, comme la Transat CIC où je m'étais fixé des gros objectifs. Et de rentrer à la maison et de regarder les copains faire la course. Donc voilà, on a repréparé tout ça en équipe. On s'est concentré sur ce qu'on avait à faire. On s'est occupé que de nous et on s'est remis des gros objectifs sur la course retour. Et là, pour le coup, ça a fonctionné. Donc ça fait beaucoup de bien parce que ça va recréer une nouvelle dynamique. Et voilà. Et puis moi, je m'étais promis de tout donner, même si ça n'a pas été toujours très très simple. Mais j'ai tout mis et ça a fonctionné. Donc voilà, c'est un gros kiff.
Tu es passé ici au Sables d'Olonne dans ton histoire, dans ta carrière de marin sur le Vendée Globe par toutes les émotions, toutes les couleurs des émotions.
Oui, alors normalement quand tu es à l'arrivée, c'est que c'est quand même plutôt bien passé, mais
Je parle de 2020.
Mais effectivement, en 2020, je suis revenu et c'était pas là pour le coup, c'était pas drôle du tout. Mais ouais, c'est un endroit que j'adore pour le coup, que ce soit les départs de Vendée, les arrivées de Vendée, et puis aussi tous les courses, notamment en Figaro, qu'on peut faire ici. À chaque fois, il y a le même accueil, à chaque fois, il y a le même engouement, à chaque fois, c'est des courses serrées. À chaque fois, ce ponton d'honneur, il fait honneur justement à tous les marins qui bataillent ferme pour y arriver. Donc voilà, c'est une place forte de la voile et que j'adore et où j'adore revenir régulièrement.
Avant de te laisser te reposer parce que tu le mérites et tu disais je suis vraiment allé puiser dans mes réserves comme ça faisait longtemps que je ne l'avais pas fait. Il y avait eu en 2016 une première New York Vendée les Sables que tu avais remportée. Là tu termines sur le podium et vous pouvez encore l'applaudir mesdames, messieurs, 3e. C'est une vraie histoire entre toi et cette course.
Ouais, c'est sûr que j'étais le seul et unique vainqueur. Il était temps que cette course ait de nouveaux lieux. Donc merci à toute l'équipe de la SEM de l'avoir remis au programme. Et voilà, on a un beau vainqueur en la personne de Charlie, un super second en la personne de Boris. On s'est pas du tout vu, enfin on s'est vu au début, on s'est pas du tout vu pendant toute la transat. Mais voilà, il y a des courses comme ça qui ont des scénarios improbables et quoi qu'il en soit, Charlie restera le 2e vainqueur effectivement de cette New York Vendée. Après moi qui étais le premier.
Et la grande classe, tu étais le premier à le féliciter en étant à bord. Merci encore, merci. Applaudissements pour Jérémie Beyou s'il vous plaît. Merci. Bérengère Soulard, un petit mot, vice-présidente du conseil départemental de la Vendée. Allez-y, prenez place aux côtés de Jérémie Beyou, le skipper de Charal et 3e de cette épreuve. Une épreuve qui ne ressemblait pas du tout à ce qui était envisagé, mais au final, la beauté magnifique de ces arrivées, la beauté de ce sport, la voile en particulier.
Mais d'abord, je voudrais féliciter au nom du président du département et puis de tous les Vendéens et Vendéennes. Bravo Jérémie, on s'était vu à New York il y a quelques jours. Je voulais vous féliciter pour cette magnifique course. Alors, une 3e place, et ça nous laisse en tout cas présager un super Vendée Globe. Merci beaucoup de nous avoir fait vibrer parce qu'on a suivi en direct de l'application votre course et puis celle évidemment de Charlie et de Boris et puis des autres qui vont arriver prochainement. Bravo à vous et puis merci pour tout ce que vous donnez pour la Vendée et puis aussi pour mettre en lumière votre sport. Je suis très très heureuse d'être avec vous ce soir et puis de vous accueillir. Merci beaucoup.
Merci Bérengère Soulard, Jérémie Beyou, applaudissements s'il vous plaît, on le laisse se reposer. Bravo, merci encore Jérémie Beyou, bravo à vous mesdames et messieurs, vous qui nous suivez ici au Sables d'Olonne ou sur les réseaux sociaux également. Surtout vous restez avec nous parce que les prochaines arrivées évidemment qui vont s'enchaîner. On va, vous qui nous suivez sur les réseaux sociaux, mettre un petit carton d'attente parce que la nuit ne fait que démarrer ici au Sables d'Olonne. Les arrivées dans les minutes qui viennent de Sébastien Simon, le Sablais, skipper de groupe du Breuil, et puis également Thomas Ruyant, skipper de Vulnérable. Ça se poursuit, des arrivées donc dans quelques minutes pour la 4e et la 5e place. D'autres suivront dans la nuit. À très vite. À tout à l'heure, ce n'est que le début de la soirée de la nuit sablaise, mesdames, messieurs.